Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Damontae bringing you a banger. Don't forget to follow on my Twitch, please. This is where we have daily content. Okay, so this is the third episode of the Dev Diary. Sorry, I accidentally spoke over top. This is the third episode of the Dev Diary, and it's based on combat, which might be interesting. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Me being a 13,000 hour player from Payday 2, giving my opinion and reactions on Payday 3. Let's see.
I mean, I haven't said everything that those does, though.
Do we want to tell them everything?
We weren't specifically looking to
Houston mask. Yo, what's up, my man Damien? Look, I see the Houston mask.
fix Payday the Heist or Payday 2. We feel like
Oh, come on, what's
those
happening?
games have their own identity. I am Mildred Kovac.
He is very true with what he was saying. I don't know why it lagged there, but Payday the Heist versus Payday 2, they play completely differently and they play in their own forms. Essentially is what he was saying. Like, they don't play the same. And, you know, Payday the Heist is more like team focused and Payday 2 is more like you can do shit by yourself focused and horde shooter. And, you know, the first game kind of focuses more on like shooting stuff. Yo, what's up, my man Ocular Goose?
Also known as Mio. I am a senior game designer here.
He's a
at
game
Starbucks.
designer? Okay.
On launch, Payday 3 will have 4 difficulties. We have
Four
normal,
difficulties.
hard, very hard, and overkill. The general intention is if you're just starting out the game and you're still learning how to play Payday 3, we recommend you start off with normal. Once you're used to that, you can move to hard mode.
Okay, so they're just kind of describing the difficulties. From what I take from this, he had mentioned that for now, they only have this amount of difficulties for now. So that doesn't mean in the future that there won't be, like, you know, fucking down the line, maybe there'll be a death sentence or something. But at the beginning, there's only going to be a couple difficulties, as they explained. And now he's explaining which difficulty fits the player.
And hard is sort of our default difficulty while you're still leveling up after you understand how the game works. Very hard is our difficulty where you've progressed enough through the game where you have a loadout you're comfortable with.
He's
If
just
you're a veteran
explaining.
player, you'll probably be playing very hard on default.
No, we'll be playing
in
Overkill.
Payday 3
No, we're going to be playing Overkill on default, whatever the case.
is planned to be a brutal, unfair difficulty.
So it's supposed to be a cruel, unfair difficulty.
So in terms of enemies, one of the bigger changes people will find is that we don't segregate enemies based on the difficulty you're playing. What we want is players to be able to experience any part of the game across all difficulties. So
That's kind of smart, honestly. Instead of like how Payday 2 is, you only experience medic dozers or miniguns or like, you know, stuff like that in higher difficulties. The low-level players never get to experience a minigun. Like if they're only playing in like Overkill on Payday 2 is max, they'll never experience a minigun, right? They won't even know it exists in the game. But then you jump in the death sentence, because I've even had this multiple times where there'll be a new player that joins the game and it's like, what the fuck? The dozer has a minigun? You know what I mean? Like that's like literally what they'll type because they've never seen it in the lower difficulties. So what he's saying here makes sense. It's not going to be exclusive. Sorry, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. It's not going to be exclusive to like Overkill, you know, certain enemies. It's going to be spread across the whole difficulty spectrum.
what we instead do is we play with the enemy numbers and we play with their accuracy and damage.
Okay.
One other thing that people will notice is we don't actually change their health values between the difficulties.
So what he said, there was a couple of things. The health values, they changed the damage, they changed the accuracy, and the amount of cops. So let's go over that real quick. In the lower difficulties, that means less cops will spawn in, which is something that was not present in the current game of Payday 2. Current game of Payday 2, you always get kind of spam hoarded, and regardless of the difficulty. That's cool to new players. The next thing he had mentioned that lower difficulty, the cops get less accuracy and deal less damage. That's already a thing in Payday 2. The one thing is the values they deal. Like that's the one thing that you'll have to understand for how the game plays. We don't know how the game plays yet. We don't know the health values. We don't know what the armor value is. We don't know how things work. precisely. So, we don't really, the damage values is what you're going to want to understand. Like what enemy does what damage, what percentage of the accuracy do they actually have? Is it a 40%? Is it a 60? Is it 50? I mean, you want to understand those values.
And this is because we want to.
Oh, and as we mentioned previously, the life being the same on all difficulties, my thought process behind that is so that players' builds can be consistent. So as it is in Descendants and Payday 2, you have to have some like massive damage output for like Descendants, Death Wish, and like Mayhem. But then you get out of Mayhem to like Overkill, the damage or the HP of the enemies change, completely. I'm not talking about like dozers and stuff. I'm just talking about heavy units. So like in that aspect, it kind of changes the way people make their builds. In Payday 2, if you're a low level player, you don't really have to focus certain damage skills. But if you're like in the Death Sentence or like in the Death Wish kind of play style, like you kind of have to focus some damage skills for your builds, which seems to be the case here in this game, which it's going to be more consistent on each difficulty, that you're going to be wanting to have a consistent amount of damage rather than in this difficulty I can kind of play like this, but in the next difficulty I can kind of, I have to do big damage. Like I get it.
Encourage people to be able to play with each other. There's one feeling we want to avoid is a situation where you have to play on an easier difficulty and be bored, or they have to play on a harder difficulty and be overwhelmed.
Yes, that is something that happens in Payday 2 too much. You can't play with too many low levels because their difficulty is too easy, and then they can't join your difficulty because then it's too hard.
One thing that matters a lot is the movement in the game, where
Interesting.
you have sliding and mantling and vaulting and all these other.
That was pretty interesting to see in the background. So they went ahead and they tested on like a weird map that has like certain heights and like distances that they try and jump over, like how it is in Siege almost.
Game where you have sliding and mantling and vaulting and all
That's
these
pretty
other
interesting.
movement options for you as a player. My name is Jimmy Karlström. I'm a senior game designer here at Starbreeze.
Another senior game designer.
Your armor affects the player's total weight as a base, but then also other things can affect that weight. This allows you.
So they added a weight factor. The last time I remember any game having a weight factor was like SOCOM. It's like if you brought too many items with you, your guy would like be too heavy and stuff. But then like no other games really, kind of touch on that stuff. Seeing that they are implementing that so that you have heavy armor, heavy guns, all this stuff is going to be playing a factor in maybe your movement speed and your ability to move or something, or aim or something like that.
As a player to be faster or slower depending on what you have equipped.
That was really loud.
Change
Hey, Houston again.
on the armor system that the player has.
Okay, that's
I'm
cool.
Martin Bern. I am a lead gameplay programmer.
I'd like to hear this.
Armor is built up of shards, so you can you have like specific components that can be broken down by getting shot at. It can recoup, but if you lose one, you lost it forever. Not forever. You can still get it back from armor bag.
Obviously. So it's really interesting. So you have sections of armor. Let's just say you've got 5 sections or 4 sections. Let's just say that. Your first section, if you get shot and it doesn't get deplenished, it'll just regen and you'll keep that same bar of armor. That is very interesting way of playing right there, because you'll have multiple components of armor, assuming that in the higher difficulties it'll probably take like 4 shots to bust your armor or something, however much armor you have. So the players that are playing more safe is what's going to be promoting here. If you play a little more safe, your armor is going to be, worthwhile in the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty interesting.
Similar to what we have.
I do enjoy hearing this armor change, honestly. That makes armor builds and stuff like that a little bit different.
The doctor bag or medic bag in the health is not regenerating at all. It's just going down. As soon as you lost the armor, you start losing the health.
So we also have different things affecting different health bars at any time. So for example, your standard enemies, if they shoot you, they will first hit the armor. But
Obviously.
Certain special enemies will circumvent that. So
Okay.
you can't just rely on stacking armor and not worrying about health. Health is also a resource you need to pay attention to.
So Zerking
To go
let's pause that real quick. So zerking may not be a thing anymore, considering the line that they had just mentioned, being that.
Or what's new?
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Being that they have implemented the way that certain enemies will pierce through the armor immediately and damage the HP without having to break the armor away. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that may not have berserker builds, frenzy builds in this game. And the same thing goes for as he'd mentioned with the health. Does that mean there's no more hostage taker? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there no more skills like that in the game?
Enemies. First, I just want to explain how we categorize the enemies internally. So we have 3 categories. We have the common enemies. So
Okay.
that's your bread and butter SWAT and heavy SWAT.
Right.
Then we have what we call the uncommon enemies.
Okay.
Internally, that is the shield and the sniper. And then
Okay.
we have the specials, and they're there to break the pace.
So,
Oh, so you look.
as he mentioned, there was 3 types of enemies. 1 is the common enemies, 2 is going to be the snipers and shields, and 3 is going to be all the other specials, like dozers, cloakers, tasers, etc. That's pretty much the same as it is in Payday 2, so I don't really see much of a difference here. He had mentioned that it changes the pace. The only thing that I could really see would be like you get some dozers to spawn in and maybe some other specials to spawn in, and like it is in the first game, you may have to actually kind of prioritize these. That's the one thing I can maybe understand from that statement of it's going to change the pace. Like, it might be like it is in Payday the Heist.
Lost a respect for the bulldozer.
Wait, what did you
Yeah,
say?
in Payday 3. Oh, so you lost a respect for the bulldozer.
We lost
Yeah, in
respect
Payday
for the
3
bulldozer?
We are upping him again. It's not like it's only getting more health or more spongy.
I hope not.
He has a couple of new behaviors as well that might surprise the players.
Which
One
is?
of the behaviors is the bull rush. You might stand there, shoot at him, you might be ignoring him, looking in a different direction, and then he just can decide to bull rush you.
So it's essentially like the Left 4 Dead enemy that'll sprint at you and knock you over or whatever. And as you've seen there, the enemy, or not the enemy, the player went into an animation here. So that's going to be kind of shitty to deal with.
And that will, tackle you, make you immobile for a while.
For a
Same thing if you
while. Oh, wow. So you will be in an animation for a while.
Too close to him. If you walk up to him, he will kick you.
Duh. So they're just making everything possible to put you in a stun animation. If you get too close to him, he's going to kick you. So therefore, like, melee skills aren't really going to be the thing to kill a dozer anymore.
I mean, the respect for him should be back in Payday 3.
This is
They didn't mention the other stuff he does, but what they're referring to is that in Payday the Heist, when a bulldozer would show up, people would be like, oh shit. You know what I mean? It was a serious thing. In Payday 2, when a dozer shows up, everyone just boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's just running up and killing him immediately. So it completely makes sense to make the dozer, you have to respect the dozer essentially. But I don't see it being that. I don't see it being he stuns you by running at you. He stuns you if you get too close to him. And then, like, to me, that doesn't really seem like the solution here.
true for a dozer, but also true for all our specials. If you really, really, really hate a certain special, you can build something that basically deletes them for you from the game. So if you really hate the dozer and you never want to see a dozer again, you can have a build that consistently 3 shots the dozer, but you will be weaker in other aspects of the game.
So what they just mentioned there is that you can fully focus a certain enemy, but then as he mentioned at the end, then you won't be as strong for the other stuff, like survivability, like it is in Payday 2 already. So if you build yourself too focused on like dodge, then the outcome is like you just can't really survive. You know what I mean? You can't actually survive the mission. He's playing some R6 with, it's all good, my man Damien, there's no worries. I'm just reacting to Payday 3 Dev Diary. I find that very interesting though, to be fair. You have an ability to focus certain enemy types, but with that, it'll make you not so strong in other, aspects of the game.
And this is where it goes into playing with your friends, right?
Yes.
You can be the dozer deleter, or one of your friends then can be the squad deleter. It's all about cooperation and trying to find a way through the heist together.
So what was meant to happen with the perk decks of Payday 2 is what they're trying to implement into Payday 3 here. If you, your team, and you know these 4 guys here are all using the same stuff, like everyone here is trying to be the dozer killer, the mission may not go so well. Like you probably will die. But considering what he had just mentioned, like imagine Chains is like the dozer killer and Dallas like kind of supports like the shields and the snipers, and then these 2 guys kind of deal with like the common cops because there's so many of them, right? Like you could kind of think of it being like that. Like you could have these 2 guys kind of playing similar stuff, but then these 2 guys covering the other aspects that you guys may not be covering. And then there's something I want to mention. If you don't have a guy focusing a certain thing, you probably don't, like, it's not going to be a big deal. Like, you as a team will be able to deal with a dozer. You won't need to have a guy specifically just to deal with a dozer. I think they had mentioned that just for, like, because there's certain players in the game that are like that. Like, oh, well, how do I deal with a dozer? Well, now there's going to be specific things just to deal with him.
So the Nader is a new enemy type. He has a bunch of gas grenades on him and flashbangs, so he will take the gas grenade and throw it where the players are, and this will create a gas cloud that exists for a certain amount of time. While you're in that cloud, you cannot sprint, and you will take damage over time directly to your health.
So that's interesting. There's a new enemy type. He has gas grenades, flashbangs. He'll be throwing them at you. If you get actually in the smoke, if you get in the smoke or gas, whatever you want to call it, you can't sprint. It's going to instantly start damaging you. And the way that I can see that is where you can't camp a certain area too long. So the game's going to force you to move by making those gas grenades things. Essentially the same thing as in Payday 2 with the gas grenades that spawn on certain maps. Like you can't consistently camp in certain areas because gas will spawn. Not that big of a change, honestly.
How he used to be. We have made some smaller changes to how the stun works. You will have first a partial stun where you can still shoot back and move your aim and try to free yourself. But if you don't manage to do that, you will enter a full stun. Cloaker.
Okay, so they just mentioned there's 2 stages of the stun. The first stage is how it is in Payday 2, where you can get shocked and shoot back. Boom, 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 boom. The second stage, if you aren't able to shoot him, then it's going to go ahead and just, you know what I mean? You can't really deal with it at that point. That adds a new aspect to tasers, and that adds the team aspect back to the tasers, because it used to be like, you know, really hard to kind of shoot tasers until like you really got like stacked up with some like accuracy. So nowadays in Payday 3, you may have to have a teammate by your side to kind of free you up in case you don't hit them or whatever. Because I'm assuming it's not going to instantly reload your gun. That's what I'm just going to assume here. They didn't mention it. They didn't say nothing about it, so I have no idea.
Have had a really big update. I would argue that they've gotten the most love, even though they don't deserve it because nobody likes cloakers. We want the cloaker.
He had to say that line
to feel like a bully.
instead of the game randomly generating flashbangs. Yeah, I agree with you, Ocular. You said that is a plus.
So he now has 2 nightstick bracers.
Is that it?
If you leave a deployable unattended and he walks past it, he will melt it with a bottle of acid because he's a toxic person like that.
That's very interesting. So deployables left unattended in this game, cloakers will sabotage them. Very interesting. The other thing about the nightsticks, I have no idea why they would have given him 2 nightsticks on his hands. I have no explanation.
One really neat improvement is on the shield enemies. The other swords have a behavior where they understand the shield much better, so they can actually walk behind this guy, use him as a cover.
That's perfect, because you know how many times I've said this in Payday 2? Because you'll have a shield literally enter a room walking backwards. Like, shields need to be, like, tactical. And like now that these guys are gonna stack up behind him and actually use the shield as cover, that is amazing.
Stand behind.
What that's going to do though is that it's going to promote like an explosive to get used in that, you know, spot. You're gonna shoot an explosive, you know, around these guys and get like 5 kills or whatever. That's what that's gonna promote, but that's not a bad thing. Like that's just the way that it works. You know what I mean?
Him, go out.
Or
shoot
4
at the player,
kills.
Go back in behind.
Or
So
5.
it creates a little bit more interesting dynamic.
It does.
The shield is really
I fully agree.
not there to kill you. He has a handgun, but he's mostly there to support other units. So if you have just a solo shield, he's probably annoying. If you have a shield that's covering for multiple enemies, then he's actually dangerous.
Okay, so the thing in Payday 2 is that shields hit pretty hard. He had just mentioned that shields don't really deal much damage, they got a pistol. And their only real purpose is to like help the team. So it's pretty interesting to hear. So shields will no longer be hitting you hardcore. You wonder what the new heists are? Well, all the heists in the background are new. Stuff we've never
When
seen.
we are picking the weapons that goes into
In Payday
the
2,
game, we are
that
looking
is.
at a lot of different things. What is the sort of perception of a weapon in the real world? And what do we need to fulfill a certain gameplay element?
Hold on, he just went through like every weapon that we've seen in all the
We're looking
trailers.
at a lot of different things.
In the background there.
What is the sort of perception of a weapon in the real world? And
So he's like going through all the guns here in the background. There's like 2 snipers, a grenade launcher, a couple pistols here,
fulfill
grenade launcher again, and then he's back to the same gun. So there's really not that many guns that were just shown. Yes, cloakers are really gonna sabotage deployables. Ain't that crazy? I don't know about assets. No one's mentioned anything about assets yet.
So the weapon modding in Payday 3 is very similar to Payday 2 in the aspect of like you can pick your own sights, your magazines, stocks,
So it's good to hear. It's gonna be like Payday 2's customization of weapons. That's nice to hear.
etc. But the way you get them is a little bit different.
Okay.
So each gun has their own progression and their own progression path.
So just like it is in like Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where you had to like level your guns up to unlock attachments and level your guns up to get like skins or whatever. That's what it sounds like he's about to say.
Where you as a player play the game as you gain experience with that gun and as you use it throughout multiple heists, then you will unlock more options and you will be able to find new ways to play with it.
So essentially almost like it is in Payday the Heist, where you'd have like a bare bone like AMCAR, but then the more you used it and used like, you know, the mastermind or whatever the tree was, I think it was the mastermind, then you would like upgrade the gun. It would get like a sight, you know, a grip, but it, you know, a muzzle, you know what I'm saying? Like it would get different things attached to the gun. But at least what he's mentioning is that you'll have the option to decide what gun attachments you're getting. So like you'll be progressing through them, but then you'll be able to take the ones that you want. It's going to be a leveling your gun system, yes. I mean, it's not the worst idea, but what that promotes is it promotes the player to actually have to use the gun before being able to like just fully deck it out. Because the thing in Payday 2 is like you may watch a video on YouTube and it shows you precisely what attachments to use, exactly what skills to have, you know what I mean? So like you can immediately build exactly what it is in Payday 2. What it is in Payday 3, as we just seen, is that you're gonna have to play that gun and actually level that gun up to make it the way that you want to make it, because that's just the way they want to implement the game now. I kind of like that.
One thing that we have in Payday 3 is
interesting.
preset weapons. These are
Presets.
essentially weapons that come pre-configured with already a set of mods equipped on them, but also a unique look that you can't get otherwise. Something
So preset weapons will have like skins that you won't be able to get otherwise, is essentially what he's saying. The way that that gun is customized and the way that it looks won't be able to get done, you know, unless you buy the preset weapon. The way that I could see that is either they're going to make that like a micromanage or a microcurrency kind of thing, or like once you reach a certain level on the gun, maybe. That'd be the things that I can understand with that.
that is important when you're playing with the preset weapons is that even though you're playing with these preset weapons, you're still progressing the base weapons levels. And that is a really important factor. So you never
Also, that's what I just realized. Preset weapons mean you can like buy a gun with attachments already on it, and it's actually going to level the gun that you're using. So assuming, let's say you buy an AK that's pre-set up with attachments, right? But your AK doesn't have attachments because you don't got no level on it, right? So that's the little plus there. You'll be able to get a gun with attachments and still level your gun for the attachments. Interesting.
Never lose out on that progression.
Yeah, never lose out on it.
Saying like, hey, you're playing with this gun, cool, you're gaining experience too.
Nice. That's a very interesting concept.
So the overkill weapons in the game, they are essentially your big power-up. It's something that you gain progress toward during a heist when you are completing objectives. And then as you gain this progress, at some point then later, you can call in your overkill weapon. This is something that is supposed to be a real power upgrade for you and help you get out of that sticky situation.
So I don't really enjoy that technically, because this is what he's saying essentially. You have powerful weapons that you can call in after completing, etc. XYZ. After completing XYZ, then you'll be able to call in a powerful weapon. I mean, it's cool that you'll be able to yield 3 guns. It's cool that the game's going to allow you to call in like a 50 cal to deal with some dozers or some shit. You know what I mean? It's cool. But I don't really enjoy, like, that aspect. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a heisting game. Oh, we're in the middle of a fucking heist, but I'm gonna bring you a grenade launcher. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's cops literally surrounding everywhere around the bank, but I'm gonna bring you a grenade launcher right now. Is it crossplay? It's cross progression. So if you play on PC and then you join onto like console, what you do on PC can be on your console, and then whatever you do on console can be right back on your PC. That's what Payday 3 is. It's cross progression.
We have a recoil system that is a spray pattern and a gun kick based system that allows you to essentially control your recoil in certain aspects, but there are always a little bit of randomization that you can't control. But with that said, you can learn and master the spray patterns and find a weapon that really suits your personality and what you want to play with.
So just like how it is in Siege. Like, I use the SMG-11 a lot in Siege, but I really, really understand the recoil pattern of the SMG-11, so therefore when I shoot it, I have no recoil whatsoever. That's kind of what he's explaining here. But what he's explaining also is that you're not going to be able to just not have any recoil, like it is in Payday 2. Like, essentially, like, you can have most of your guns be nothing. Yeah, that thermal scope was pretty cool, wasn't it, Damien? But what he's mentioning here is that, hold on, let me get back, because I kind of lost my train of thought.
That you can't control.
Okay, so so you'll be able to learn the pattern of the recoil, but then there's going to be random, like, jumps or, jumps to the side or something like that when you're using the gun, which is cool. That makes for, a randomized shooting, style each time. But as he mentioned, there's going to be a consistent recoil style as well. So therefore, let's say you dump mags. Each time you dump a 30-round mag, like, you're going to be able to find some form of consistency with the gun, but then there's going to be randomized jumps.
But
Makes
with
sense.
That said, you can learn and master the spray patterns and find a weapon that really suits your personality and what you want to play with. It's not about finding a specific breakpoint in a game.
Thank you. Oh my god. You know how many times I've said this in Payday 2? Oh my god, I want to hug this man. It's not about a certain breakpoint. No one actually gives a fuck, dude. When people started talking about breakpoints in Payday 2, that's what the game got ruined. Swear on everything. You had so many people, streamers and YouTubers, whatever you want to call it, guide makers, all talking about breakpoints and trying to push the issue in the community that everyone has to think about what breakpoint they're using. Oh, I need 3 bullets to kill one thing. No, dude. It's never been about that. As he had just said, it's never been about breakpoints. I fully agree with that. Thank you.
Where you want to reach a specific stat number.
Thank you. Once again, same thing I was just mentioning.
As in Payday 2 necessarily. Instead, it's about
like in Payday 2 necessarily. Yes, thank you. Exactly.
what you enjoy in your combat situations and how you want to engage with it.
So just like it is in Payday 2, though. Yeah, what's up, my man? Yep, by the way. Just like it is in Payday 2, you kind of still can choose any guns that you want and use anything for your style, right? It's just majority of the community will build around a breakpoint, build around a specific accuracy statistic. Like, Overkill doesn't want that, as you can literally hear inside this. As I've explained so many times in the past, that isn't the focus of the game. It has never been about breakpoints and what specific number and how many times can you shoot this guy and he'll die. You know what I mean? It's never been about that. Ever. It's never been about that. Did I buy Payday 3? I'm getting the pre-order. Bank Heist looks fun. Yeah, Bank Heist does look pretty heist.
That blocks the
Nice. You can throw an ECM jammer. That's very, very interesting.
enemy to alert. It also blocks cameras. You have a mini camera that you can place, and then
The mini camera is very interesting as well, with the stealth aspect and loud aspect.
you can at any time view through these cameras. The idea is obviously that you as a team equip different ones and you get different possibilities within
Yes.
the heist.
So with the camera thing, you can kind of throw it on him, and then you'll know where he's at. You know, let's say that's the roaming guard. You throw it on him, and then you'll know where he's at any time. Also, you've seen previously in the other gameplay with the camera, you could throw it like in a hallway, like in a bottleneck position, and then like you'll know when they're coming from that area, or you can kind of throw it on a wall and like for your flank, so that you can kind of check it periodically and know that oh someone's coming from behind us. You know what I mean? They got a little squad coming. Yo, what's up, Yep? I just said that I was gonna get it. The ECMs caught my eye. Yeah, the mini ECMs that you can throw on walls, very interesting. He had a throwing knife that's already a thing in Payday 2, but he had more of an animation in Payday 3.
I believe we have created a really good foundation. I think it's a good first step.
I would like
That's what I not want to hear, though. Oh, we've created a good foundation. We've got a good first step. Dude, you guys have had years to create this game, and you guys are still on first step. Bruh. You guys have just set the foundation. Like, are you for real? Like, that's the... Like, everyone wants a complete game. They don't want... Here, it's gonna come out, but it's gonna come out, like, half-ass. Yo, what's up, my man Pistachio? How do you sleep? You come to my stream, and that's how you'll go to sleep. Guaranteed. Do you think the eSIMs will be a part of Hacker? I don't even think Hacker is gonna be a perk deck anymore, Damien. Yeah, I don't know why they came out with that statement right there, being like, oh, well, we just set the foundation. I think this is going to be a great start. No, bro, you guys need to have everything made. It's been years and years and years. Like, come on.
the community to explore the opportunities of Payday and how the different ways you can approach a heist.
This is something I just realized. He's got Payday 3 hoodie, and he's got Houston on the side. So you can probably pretty much just guarantee Houston's going to be a character.
And also how their choices in the game, both when it comes to loadout and their actions, actually has an impact.
So we've heard this already on another like dev diary, I believe. How map is gonna have like things that the map is gonna have interactable stuff that literally change the outcome of things. That's essentially what he was just saying there. At the very, his last like words that he was mentioning, like the things you do are actually gonna have like an outcome, versus like it is in Payday 2, where you may go do some shit over here on the map, but like it doesn't do anything. But then in this game, you may go do some stuff over there, and it's really gonna affect some stuff.
I would like to see players complain about their hatred towards the enemies in particular. I know
He wants people to complain about the enemies in particular, because what he's referring to here is that in Payday 2 when it came out, like people were complaining about the dozers, the cloakers, the fucking taser. You know what I mean? They were literally complaining about anything and everything to the max. That's what he's referring to here. So he's kind of like, giving you a little gut shot. He's hitting you in the stomach real quick. All the people that's complained about shit in Payday 2. That's what he's doing right now. He's giving you a little gut shot.
that the cloaker is much hated, and I hope people learn to hate him even more.
The only thing people hate about cloakers in Payday 2, honestly, is that even if you get away from a cloaker, it downs you. If you are on the opposite side of a wall, he'll hit you through the wall. Like, it's poor design from the game designers and the game developers. It's not people hating a specific enemy. So don't even be that flamboyant, this dude. Don't even be that guy. Once again, it's not the fact that cloakers are annoying or anything like that. It's that they jump through walls, they get you regardless if you get away from them. They'll hit you from 10 feet away. Like, that's the stuff people are upset about. It's not, once again, people are hating on an enemy because it's it's an enemy that works perfectly fine. No, they're hating on an enemy because that enemy doesn't work properly.
Just want to see some cool skill builds.
So they want to see some cool skill builds. I do enjoy them saying that because I will be definitely making a bunch of builds for this. So gladly, I will be taking you on that challenge there. Even though he wasn't a challenge, I'm making it a challenge. Man, they love showing that slide with the shotgun.
Miu hasn't thought about this. This is gonna break the game.
You'll fix it in post.
Me who hasn't thought about this. This is gonna break the game. Is that what they said about Payday 2's last update? About update 237? They were like, oh, this is gonna break the game.
No, cut that. That's terrible.
Wait, what did he
That's just
say?
a fucking lie.
Wait, what did he say?
Gonna break the game.
You'll fix it in post.
Wait, what did he just say?
This is gonna break the game.
You'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in a post. Is that what he just said? We'll fix it in a post. Bruh. They literally made a post saying that they'd fix matchmaking in Payday 2. Literally, like, 2 updates come out before they fix matchmaking in Payday 2. Bruh. What? Yeah, edit that out.
No, cut that. That's terrible. That's
He's
a fucking
completely
lie.
right. It is a complete lie. I'm glad that guy's being genuine. Man, I like that orange beard, dude. That orange beard dude's cool. This guy right here, nah, bro. He's lying about cloakers and shit. Nah, bro. No, I like him, dude. I mean, they're both cool. I'm just giving them a hard time. All right, cool. They're pretty interesting. This one gives some loud players some smiles. At least it gives me a smile being a loud player. There's some new stuff to look forward to. Because previously we didn't really get to see too much difference with the loud gameplay in the previous trailers and the previous dev diaries, but this one really touched on it. So therefore, amazing. And once again, this was my reaction, being a 13,000 hour player of Payday 2 for the reaction of Payday 3.